So I'm in a reading slump again. This is going to be like the third or fourth, maybe 10th video you've seen from me this year that references a reading slump in the title. Because I'm having such a weird year with reading, which has been super frustrating honestly, because I have so many things that I want to read, so many things I'm excited to read, and I'm just struggling to pick stuff up this year. At the moment, I think my current slump is influenced by having a really middling reading month in August. I read like one standout book, and then everything else was like, okay. I read some manga that I did enjoy, but those are just like kind of ongoing series, and I don't feel like those are the 5-star for manga for me is very different from a 5-star for a novel or a nonfiction book. And so mostly August was just okay. And then the first week of September, I was planning to do a 24-hour reading blog with the timer method and just seeing like how many books can I read in 24 hours. So it was going to go up at the end of that first week. It was Labor Day weekend right at the start of the month, so I had an extra day off. I was going to do lots of reading, and it just went disastrously. It just did not work out. I started reading The Chestnut Man because my thinking was like, okay, I'm gonna do this challenge. I'll just focus on my D20 TBR that I put together. And I started The Chestnut Man and I DNF'd it at 120 pages because the writing felt a little bit like somebody narrating a TV show to me that they were watching. So it felt super weird. I felt very much like I was like at arm's length from whatever was happening in the story. And I also was finding the detectives like very cliched and uninteresting, so I wasn't enjoying that and I gave up on that one. And then I picked up Whispers of the Deep by Emma Hamm, which was the Curse Book Club pick for this month for my friends, and I ended up having my friend talk me into DNFing it as well. I got 200 pages into this one, and it's really poorly written, and there's no meaningful progression to anything. There's nothing happens, there's no plot, there's nothing to pull you through the story if you aren't enjoying the relationship between the main characters, and I just really wasn't, and it was really preventing me from picking anything else up because I kept thinking, okay, I've got to finish this book before I can start anything else, and it was creating problems. So my friend wisely talked me into DNFing that one, and after that I've just been struggling to pick something else up. That was over this like past weekend, and I decided to DNF it on Saturday. It's now Monday. I haven't read anything else. I take that back. I did start 10 pages of a book that I'm going to talk about in a few minutes, but I've just been struggling to pick anything else up, and my motivation is just not there, which really sucks for me because I am in such a mood to read and to knit because we are going into fall and the fall weather has started to arrive. We've had some crisp mornings, we've had some nice like cooler breezy days, and it's been just like beautiful the last few days, and I've been in such a mood to read and knit, and the knitting has happened, the reading has not. So the goal for this video now is to try and claw my way back out of this slump by mood reading, and I think I'm gonna mostly focus on reading things by authors that I have previously read from and loved books from, just because I feel like that's going to give me the greatest chance of success at getting out of this slump. So that's gonna be the plan, but before I get to my pile of possibilities, I am going to mention Thrum, which I'm going to read first. This is not a book by an author I've read before, but this is the last book on my September TBR. This is the book that I like briefly read 10 pages of, and I hadn't like filmed any updates for it, so we're just going to include it here. This one is a novella that's a horror romance, which I think is an intriguing combination. This is following a young woman who goes on a space voyage and wakes up from stasis only to discover that she is the only living crew member. Everybody else has died, and when she sends out an SOS signal, she gets a response back from an entity called Damien, whose ship seems to be calling her. So I'm really interested to see where this is gonna go. It's very short, so if I don't like it, at least it's short, and maybe I'll end up DNFing this one as well. But having read the first 10 pages, it was like so far so good. It's very existential in the first 10 pages, like really thinking about like the horror of going into space like that and the like toll that it takes on the human psyche, knowing about like relativistic time where basically if she ever got back to Earth, everybody she knows would be dead. So there's a lot of discussion of that, and I'm feeling a little more positive about that one. I am going to read that first and kind of see where things go. But after that, I put together a pile of possibilities of things that I might read that are all by some of my favorite authors that I think would be good slump busting books for me. Editing Hope here. I'm actually just going to cut myself off at this point because I proceeded to go through quite a large stack of books that I was interested in reading. This was like a mix of Sylvia Moreno Garcia, Stephen Graham Jones, some Freya Marsk, like clearly authors that I read frequently and love, and like you would think that that's where I would go, but no, I go completely different directions in this video, and I just don't want to waste your time giving you a list of books that I'm not actually going to read. All of the books that I mentioned in that clip I am hoping to read before the end of this year, but I'm just going to take this clip out here and let you dive into what I actually ended up doing. So I'm hopeful that this is going to work. I am going to start with Thrum and see if I can get that closure on my TBR, finish all 3 books that were on it, and we'll see where I go from there. I'm gonna kind of pick things up as the mood strikes me. I am about to go on some trips. I'm gonna be going on a beach trip with my partner and his family at the end of this week. So it's currently Monday. I'm gonna be leaving on Friday to go to the beach with them through the weekend, and then on Monday morning I'm gonna be staying over at his apartment when we leave the beach, and he's gonna drop me off at the airport so I can go to a business thing. It's an annual marketing meeting, that's what it is. So I'm going to be meeting like the other marketing and communications people from the company that I've just started working for. So I'm looking forward to that. It's going to be interesting, I think, but it is going to be lots of travel for a few days. So I want to get kind of out of this slump, and I'm definitely going to be taking something to read with me because I'm going to be spending some time like in airports and stuff like that. So that's kind of the plan, and we're gonna hope that this works. Great news, Thrum was really good. I really enjoyed it. I'm giving it 4 stars. This was a really solid horror novella. I think it definitely fits into horror romance, like it is that, but I think that it leans far more into horror, and the romance elements actually serve to amplify the horror, so I really enjoyed that. I thought that was really well done. This was a really enjoyable novella. We're following Amy as she realizes that she is the only person left alive on her ship, that her companions have all died in stasis, and she's completely alone in deep space, and she sends out a distress call only to be answered by an entity called Dorian. She ends up on a ship, and very strange things start to happen. It's like the ship is warping around her. She's not sure if she can trust her own mind. She's seeing things, and all while this is all happening, she's having this like weird tension with Dorian, and like the whole thing is just this woman's mind unraveling, and it was really interesting. I really liked the kind of exploration of like humanity's hubris in thinking that it can explore the stars and go into deep space and know what it can expect out there. I thought that was really interesting. I think there's also something that kind of is exploring cycles of abuse. It feels like I don't quite feel like I totally got what it was saying there, but I think it is trying to do that. So there were like lots of little elements I really liked. I think my only issue with this book is I felt like it needed to be longer, because there's some of the characters, the dead crew members, we see them a little bit throughout the book, like in Amy's memories and in like dreams that she's having, and I think I would have liked to have a better sense of them as characters. I think that would have really helped make their loss impactful, and would have made the ending that much more emotional, because the ending is quite upsetting and unsettling in a way that I thought was really interesting, and I think it would have been like even more so had we had a better sense of the characters as people, if they had been like a little bit more present, maybe earlier in the story. I also think that like the opening and the ending are a little bit rushed feeling. Like there's not much of a gap between Amy waking up and Amy encountering Dorian. So some of her kind of earlier interactions with him don't quite make sense to me. Some of her early reactions to him, I felt like would have made more sense if there had been like there's a longer delay between her waking up and her encountering him. And I also think that the ending reveal feels a little bit rushed. We get kind of a lot of information very suddenly, and it's like revelation after revelation after revelation, and I think I would have liked if some of that was spaced out a little bit more, and some of the horror elements had a little more space to breathe, because it's basically like a continuing onslaught of like horrible things happening to Amy. She's just like seeing horrible things constantly, having horrible nightmares, all of this terrible stuff is happening to her, and it almost has this like gothic feel at points where she's like certain that she's being haunted by something. There's like spooky shifting hallways, there's all kinds of weird stuff happening, and it feels like it's so constant that there isn't enough time for each of those moments to kind of breathe and like fully impact the reader in a way that they could. So I felt like if it had just been a little bit longer, like even like 50 pages longer, just a little more space to give us a little more explanation on a couple of things. I'm fine with like unknowable space entities being unknowable. That's not what I want to know more about. I just would have liked to know more about the characters and some of the motivations behind the revelations at the end of the book. So yeah, I am feeling a little bit better about my reading. I'm not sure what I'm going to pick up next. You'll find out momentarily in the next clip what I've decided to read, but I feel like I have a nice set of things that are all strong contenders for 5 stars. So hopefully that will help me kind of continue the momentum that Thrum has given me here, because I am feeling more confident in my like ability to pick something up going forward, which is great because I have a lot of stuff I really want to read. I'm really looking forward to like fall reading. So yeah, I'm glad that I picked it up, and I'm gonna go get some sleep now because it's late. I have work to do tomorrow. I have a lot of prep to do this week before these trips at the end of this week and into next week. So yeah, I'm gonna go get some sleep so that I'm prepared to do that stuff. But I'll check back in with you guys later and let you know what I've decided to read next. Gonna try and make this a quick update, but I wanted to let you know that I've decided to start Tiny Threads by Lilium Ribera because this is an arc that I've been wanting to get to. It comes out at the end of this month, and I'm trying to get my NetGalley ratio up, and this sounded really interesting. This is a horror novel about a young woman who gets kind of her dream job working for her favorite fashion designer in the fashion house that he has founded, and she arrives there kind of running from something bad that has just happened to her with her family, and clearly like it's something we don't know about yet, but it's going to be relevant later. She's kind of running from something. She arrives in California for this new job, and things quickly turn sinister, and also maybe her apartment is haunted. That could also be happening as well. So I'm really interested to see where this is gonna go. I am enjoying it so far. I'm 15% in at the moment and having a good time. It's going much faster than I anticipated. I'm finding it to be a pretty quick read. I like the main character, Samara. She has this like strong connection with her grandmother. She was someone really important to Samara and has passed away recently, so Samara's kind of struggling with the loss of that connection and looking for a relationship to kind of fill that gap, so I'm enjoying that. She's also a little bit of an alcoholic, so that's a piece of it as well. So I'm enjoying her character and seeing kind of where she's going to go, and yeah, overall pretty good. I think there's a little bit of clunkiness to the writing, and some of the commentary it's giving is a little bit on the nose, but I think it's interesting. The conversations it's bringing up are important and interesting. It just feels a little bit more like the author's voice kind of interjecting to be like, and here's what I think about this thing, as opposed to it coming from like the character or the story itself. I'm really interested to see where it's gonna go. It's a little clunky at points, but I think overall I'm having a good time with it. I'm really interested to see how things are gonna play out, what exactly is going on at this fashion house, why is her apartment so creepy. Really looking forward to seeing how that's going to turn out, and that is making me feel hopeful for this one. So that's what I'm going with next. This evening I've got to do a couple of chores, get ready to travel. Gotta go pick up like some travel sized shampoo and stuff like that, and then I need to do some laundry, start packing, that kind of thing. Have started that process, but I'm mostly going to try and focus on reading Tiny Threads this evening and kind of getting ready for this upcoming week. This week is a little bit weird because I'm working some extra hours in the first part of the week so that I can be away from my desk and actually drive to my partner's apartment ahead of time on Friday so that I can beat the like rush hour traffic, and so we can leave at like a reasonable time to get to the beach at a reasonable time. So kind of where things are at. It means that my evenings are feeling a little bit short at the moment because I'm doing that extra work, but I also have like a project I really want to get done at work before the end of the week, so it all kind of works out. But yeah, that's kind of where we're at for the moment. I think that's all I need to update you on, and I'm gonna go work on all the stuff I need to get done and hopefully get some more reading done because I am enjoying Tiny Threads and I want to read at least a chunk of it tonight before I go to bed. Surprise, this is now also a kind of knitting and travel vlog. I am going to take my camera with me to the beach over the weekend. Probably won't do a ton of filming, but if I think about it, I'll get a few like b-roll clips because I think that'll be fun. But you did just see me wind some yarn that I'm very excited about. I do have an ongoing project that I've talked about in a previous vlog, which is this moss blossom, but as much as I'm loving that, it's not very travel friendly because I need to have my iPad for my pattern because that's how I'm keeping track of where I'm at, and it's lace. I'm going to be spending time with people, talking to my partner and his family, so I want something that I can do that's not like thinky. I don't have to count, I don't have to be paying that close attention, so I'm instead going to be taking a slightly different project for my travel project, and I'm going to be using these two beautiful colors to make a brioche cowl for my mom. I have yarn to do one for myself as well. I bought 4 skeins from this dyer. I will talk about the yarn in just a second, but I bought 4 skeins to do brioche cowls. I have a pattern for a chromatic cowl that I think technically calls for a gradient yarn, but I'm actually just doing it with solid colors because what I really want and what my mom wanted when she saw the colors that were on offer was just like a really nice, you know, two-tone brioche cowl that is simple enough that it can pair with a lot of different stuff. So I'm gonna be making that. I'm just using the chromatic cowl pattern as a like guide for it. Obviously you don't have to use the yarn called for in a specific pattern. So anyway, that's what I'm going to be doing. And I have these two colors, these are from Villenvine, who is an indie dyer whose colors I just love. She has beautiful colors, and she does new updates for her shop like every week or almost every week. So there's always like something new and exciting in her shop. And I was looking at her shop recently, and she had another color. Is it within reach? It is within reach. See if I can show this to you without like showing you my address. So these were the other colors. These are what I have for me, and this color here is called Golden Hour, and I had been looking at this obsessively for like a week, and every time I looked there was just 1 skein left. And then kind of at the end of 1 week I was looking at this and I realized there's 1 skein of this left and 1 skein of this one, which is called Evermore. And I decided I wanted to make a brioche cowl out of it because I kept looking at this knowing I wanted something in this color. But then I realized this would look great with it. So I was gonna order that for me, and then my mom came in and we started talking about it, and I showed her, and we realized that there were these 2 colors and these 2 were also just 1 skein left. So I bought all 4 of those like single skeins that were left of the different colors. Put the yarn back over there. So these are her Nouveau base, which is just 100% merino, superwash merino, and it's a 1-ply or single ply, and it's super soft. Really like the feel of this. This one is called Fine Wine, and this one is Dusk to Dusk. I've stuck the little labels in there so that I can keep track of that information. But yeah, I love these. I love them together. This is going to be the main color that I'm going to be kind of knitting, that will be like the quote-unquote outside of it. Brioche is reversible, so kind of won't matter ultimately. But again, that's going to be my main color. That's the contrast color. And I think this is going to be a perfect project because I have, or at least a perfect project for travel. I stopped myself mid-sentence there. I have made a brioche cowl before in a like chunkier weight yarn, so I'm familiar with how it works. I find brioche to be very simple to knit and really like nice and repetitive, something I can kind of talk and watch stuff while knitting it. So it's going to be perfect for this trip. I don't know if I'm going to try and take it on the plane with me. I know that you can technically take knitting needles on the planes. However, I have also read stories of people having their needles confiscated, so I don't know. The only ones I have in the correct size are all from my nice like interchangeable sets, so I don't know if I want to risk it. But I'm at least going to take this for the trip to the beach with my partner and his family. So yeah, that was what that was about. I just needed like a minute away from my desk to do that, and I've gotten pretty quick at winding yarn. It doesn't take me more than a few minutes, and I find it like a very meditative activity, but also your shoulder hurts at the end, if that makes sense. It's a lot of cranking the thing, just like sitting there, shoulder going for a long time. but it's so worth it, and I'm so excited. Also, I love when you have double caked the yarn, which I always do now because it's supposed to be less damaging to your yarn. You just end up with these like big, lofty, fluffy, satisfying cakes. So anyway, I'm delighted. I'm having a great afternoon. Now I'm gonna get actually back to work, and I'm drafting a story that's kind of interesting for a project that the company I now work for did some construction management on. So I think that's gonna be really cool. Looks like it was a really interesting project, and I'm looking forward to writing this story. So that's what I'm gonna go do in the meantime. And then later this evening, actually my partner and I are gonna be filming a video because today is technically our 6th anniversary, so we are going to film a video together this evening. It was an idea that we were talking about for a little while, a couple of weeks. Just something like fun and silly that we could do together, and that should be going up over the weekend while we're at the beach. So yeah, looking forward to that. It's gonna be fun. Hello, it's the middle of the day, and I just have to check in real quick because I have book mail, and it's The Examiner by Janice Hallett. I pre-ordered this, I forgot about it, got a shipping notification, was confused, then got excited. I loved her previous book, The Mysterious, I want to call it The Curious Case, it's The Mysterious Case of the Albertan Angels. I loved it. It was so good. I'm very excited to read her next book. This one is about students in I think a Master of Arts program. So yeah, I don't even care anything beyond that premise, although I do know a little bit more about it, which is that there's the examiner, the person who is looking at their exam results, a collection of like materials that they provided, becomes convinced that somebody has died. And you're looking at the materials that the examiner is looking at and trying to figure out who died and how, or if somebody even died, just like using the materials that the examiner has to figure that out. It sounds like so much fun, and I'm definitely going to make this my next read. I was planning to pick up one of the books I've already talked about, but actually when I finish Tiny Threads, this is going to be next. Actually, this is going to be my travel book I'm going to take with me. I'll probably end up taking my Kindle with me if I don't finish Tiny Threads before I leave tomorrow to go to the beach. I'll take my Kindle with me just for that part of the trip, but I'm not going to take it with me on the plane because taking more electronics on the plane is always a problem. The airport that I fly out of isn't too bad for electronics. They have a new system in place where you don't have to take everything out of your backpack or out of your suitcase. So you can just kind of like leave everything in there and it's fine. It's much easier to go through. In fact, I really like the airport that I'm flying out of. But then the one that I'm going to be flying out of to come home, I don't know what their system is like. So I wanted to like reduce the difficulty of flying as much as possible. So I'm not going to take my Kindle with me on the business trip, but I will take it with me to the beach if I don't end up finishing Tiny Threads beforehand, which I think there's a good chance I won't. I still need to edit the video that Jacob and I filmed yesterday, which I'm so excited for you guys to see that. It was so much fun. We had a great time filming it, and I think we may do a couple more episodes of it if people end up liking it. It was a lot of fun. So looking forward to getting that up, and I need to edit that tonight so it can go up on Saturday. You'll be seeing that before you see this, but yeah, just like super excited about that, super excited about this book. This is definitely what I'm going to be reading after Tiny Threads because I am so in the mood for a mixed media mystery. I love these, and it's going to be a great travel book, I think, because it's something that'll be easy for me to like read a small chunk and then set it down again. But we'll kind of see what happens. You'll see what I'm going to end up doing. But for now, I just needed to share that this was here because I am so freaking excited for it. hopefully you will have just seen a little montage of stuff from my travels over the last week, but I am officially back now and I'm really glad to be back. It was a really great week. Both the beach trip and the marketing meeting that I went to were like fantastic, and I'm just glad now to have some time to decompress. I'm really glad that I went, but I am like very tired. It was a lot of socializing and a lot of travel and just kind of like logistics stuff. So it was great. I am glad though that I am back. I got to sleep in my own bed, which was really nice. And yeah, it's been a really good week, really. I think I have a couple of updates for you from the trip, a couple of fun things to talk about. And I guess I'll start with my reading update, which is that I started The Examiner by Janice Hallett. I ended up not reading at all during the beach portion of the trip, just because we were so busy hanging out with my partner's parents and we were just doing stuff the whole time. So it rained the whole time we were there, but we found a lot of stuff to do anyway. We got ice cream at a really good like local place. It was delicious. So I didn't end up reading at all then, but I got to the airport on Monday and I was there like 2.5 hours early because of getting dropped off before my partner went to work, and just like the timing of it, I was sitting there for a long time. So I read a pretty good chunk of this in the airport on the way to the marketing meeting and on the plane on the way to the marketing meeting. I can't remember how far I am. I read a little bit on the way back, but by the time I was coming back, I was just like, my brain was so full of information and I've been socializing so much that I was just tired and I didn't read as much. But I am on page like 182 or 183, so I've made it almost 200 pages in and I'm loving this. This is giving me a very different kind of conversation than her previous book, The Mysterious Case of the Alfred Angels, but it's doing the same thing that I really appreciated in that book, which is that I feel like there are moments where I feel like I understand where the story is going, and then it throws in something new, and it's like, oh, new thought. However, have a new thing. And I really appreciate that about this book, because it really just keeps me on my toes, and every time I think I know where something is going, it's like, you're wrong. And then we get some sort of new piece of information that completely changes the direction, and I'm just really enjoying this. It's very much a story about a bunch of fairly unpleasant people, except Patrick. I do love Patrick. He's the only nice person in this book, honestly. But it's about this group of students and a professor who are all working together in this like 1-year MA course in multimedia art and marketing, and they are all there for very different reasons. Everybody here has some sort of ulterior motive for being here, or some other like purpose as a part of the group, and it's really interesting seeing like all of these different personalities really clash. A lot of them kind of form little cliques of people, so there's like, you know, group of people over here who mostly talk to each other and kind of gossip about the other group, and then this group is gossiping about that group, and it's like still a fairly small cast, because we have Gela, who is the my cat is very upset because he's shut in at the moment. I'm going to let him out in a second. But we have Gela, who is the professor for the course, and she handpicked all of the students for the course, so like clearly she has some sort of motive and reason for picking each person. And then we have like an art gallery director, a guy who runs an art supply shop. We have like an actual art student who is wanting to like break into the business world. We have an artist who's wanting to, I don't know why she's here, like improve her business skill, I guess, although she's supposed to be like very good at that already. So it's kind of like, why is she really here? There's a businessman who is supposed to be like taking a step back from his work to do something new, but it's very clear that he has some other reason for being here. Is that everybody? Oh, and there's like a single mother who's like a graphic designer, and like she already also like very established as a business person. So it's kind of like, why are all of these people here? What is the purpose of bringing them together, and where is everything going? And the gist of where we're going is that the guy who is the tutor for this believes that somebody is either in danger or dead as a result of the events of this course. And you're trying to like read and figure out like who and what and why and where and how and all that good stuff. And I'm just having a great time reading this. I'm really enjoying it. If I had been less busy, I might have read a little bit more, but they really did keep us super busy at the marketing meeting. Got back pretty late to the hotel both days, and just kind of crashed. It was like, again, it was really good, but like I read this in the airport and that was pretty much it. So that's where I'm at. I've just gotten to a point where we got like a new twist, and I'm excited to see where all of that's gonna go. yeah, having a great time with this one. I'm enjoying like the clash of personalities. So that's all the reading I did. I did read like a page or two of Tiny Threads, but ultimately just didn't read a lot of it, and I didn't want to take my Kindle on the plane because I didn't feel like messing with it if I went through an airport where you had to like take all your electronics out of your bag, because I already had that happen once this year where I accidentally left my Kindle in my backpack going through an airport, and then they had to rescan my backpack, and it was super embarrassing. So didn't want to do that, didn't take my Kindle. So I'm gonna try and finish The Examiner and Tiny Threads in the next couple of days, but I'm having a great time reading both of them. So like, I feel like my reading is definitely improving. I think this like mood reading thing was the way to go for me at the moment. In terms of other updates, I'll start with the non-book ones, and then I'll like move to the book ones. But while we were traveling, before we came back to my partner's apartment on Sunday, we went from where we were at the beach to another city that's nearby and did a little bit of exploring and wandering around, and it turned out that they have an artisan market on Sundays, which we didn't know anything about. And so we went through that and just like wandered around, talked to some of the artists, and it was really cool. And I bought a few things. I bought from 2 of the different artists, and one of them was a photographer. This is from Decaying Doug Art, or Decaying Doug Photography, I believe is what his business name is. But it's this really interesting photo of like a window, and you're just seeing the leaves through it. I just love this because also it's like autumn leaves, so you get the like oranges and the reds. I just love the colors in this, and I thought it would look really cool in my office with like my orange curtains and everything. So I bought this. I love it. I'm super excited to get this kind of established in a frame. I need to get a frame for it. But yeah, I'm excited to get this up on the wall. And then I also bought some pottery mugs because there was a woman there who was doing pottery, and she was so nice. Unfortunately, I can't remember her. Wait, no, I have her business card. I was like, I can't remember her name, but I can because her business card is currently my bookmark because I forgot to take a bookmark on this trip. So her name is Lauren Rogers Ceramics, and her ocean-inspired functional pottery. I think all of her stuff, or most all of her stuff, is like dishwasher and microwave safe, and she just makes these beautiful pieces. I particularly like mugs, so that's why I bought mugs. But I love like the drips from at the top. Let me see if I get this in front of my face so you can actually see the mug. But yeah, it's just got these like pretty drips, and there's some like darker colors at the bottom. And this one is like very blue, and then the inside, I don't know if it's going to be visible, but the inside is a like kind of sea foamy green color, which I really like, and it's got some swirls at the bottom. I just love the shape of this. And then I have a bigger version that's got this kind of cream background, some green. This is, sir? Hang on, my cat is getting very upset. He's pulling things off of my shelves, so give me a second. Are you okay, buddy? Did you pull books on yourself? I'm sorry, baby. The moment he's outside, by the way, if you heard what happened there, I have like a little crocheted thing sitting on top of a metal shelf here, and he was pulling on this like crocheted mat, and it pulled some books down that flopped next to him and freaked him out. He's okay as far as I can tell. He certainly has not, it might have hurt his dignity, but it has certainly not hurt him. He is right back at his usual nonsense. But the moment I shut the door, after he went out, he like shoved his little paws under the door and started like frantically waving them like, no, open this. So he's not happy with this filming situation. I guess I'm gonna have to talk a little bit faster so the cat is not so displeased with me. He's funny. He's glad that I'm back, and he's very annoyed at this like being trapped away from me or being trapped in with me. He doesn't like it. So unfortunately I need to shut the door to film so I'm not disturbing mom next door while she's working, because I'm just taking a little break. Anyway, back to the mug. Very pretty mug. Green, cream, blue, some of that seafoam kind of on the handle, and it's like a darker foresty green on the inside. I love these. I think they're beautiful, and yeah, couldn't resist buying some pretty pottery mugs and supporting some of the local artisans because they were super cool and like really friendly, and it was just really nice. They all had some like beautiful artwork out. Other updates. We are now at the book updates. I know this has been a very long update. Thank you for bearing with me up to this point. But while we were there, we went into a bookstore, and last week, right before our beach trip, was my partner and I's 6th anniversary, and he bought me some books for our anniversary at this bookstore, which was super sweet of him, and he just let me pick out a couple of things. It was super cute. I was really excited to be in a little like indie bookstore. It's like really narrow. They have like a very narrow building, but it was just like so cute, and you'll have seen some clips in this montage a few minutes ago. But ended up getting I'm a Fan by Sheena Patel, which I just saw Gabby from Gabby read recently, and she said it was super weird and interesting, so I'm really curious to give this a try because it's not in my usual genres. I think it's kind of a psychological case study, literary kind of a book, and I'm really interested to give this a try because it sounds super weird. And then I also got Little Rot by Akwaeke Emezi, which is also kind of outside of my usual wheelhouse, but I've heard so many fantastic things about Emezi's writing, and that like the way that they craft their stories is supposed to be really compelling and interesting, and I'm really curious about this one. For one, I just love the cover. I ended up with some very vibrant covers, but this is like my color scheme right here, so I love that. But also the description of this one just really appealed to me. I think of all of their books, I felt like this description was the most exciting to me. I'd also like to read The Death of the OG, but this one, just the like little tagline thing says, "One weekend, the elite underbelly of a Nigerian city, a party that goes awry, a tangled web of sex and lies and corruption that leaves no one unscathed." That just sounds super compelling to me. So that was the two that I picked out because I wanted to do something a little bit different. Since I was at like a new bookstore, I didn't want to just pick up the stuff that was like already on my buy list. I got to kind of browse for a few minutes, and that was really fun. And yeah, so thank you to my partner for gifting me these two books. I'm super excited to read them. I might pick up one of these later in this video, but we'll see kind of how long it takes me to get through like The Examiner and Tiny Threads. That's the other one. So that's those two books, and then I ended up with one more book. You might have noticed this one is a little more loved. I went to a dinner party on Monday night with I'm on a comms team, and we work with the creative services team, and we went to a dinner party at the creative services director's house, and I met her wife, who used to work at the company I work at now as a technical writer. She was a senior technical writer, and she works elsewhere now, but I got a chance to meet her and talk to her, and she was so nice, and she gave me such like great advice, and was you know, telling me some people that I should get in contact with, and like how to approach contacting some of the technical staff, and just like super encouraging, and she was just lovely. But one of the things that she did was hand me this book. She disappeared around a corner for a minute, came back, and was like, "This book changed my life. It completely changed the way that I think about writing and about how I approach my job. It's just, I've read it several times." And then she handed it to me, and she's like, "And it's yours now, but you have to promise me that you'll read it." So I did. I promised her I would read it, and I'm going to try and get to this very soon too. So this may also be something that crops up in this video. I'm not sure yet. I think I am going to try and get to it ASAP so I can like let her know what I thought, because I can probably get in contact with her through the creative services director, and just let her, you know, let her know that I've read the book, enjoyed the book, appreciate what it has to say, all of that stuff, because I suspect I will. It sounds really interesting. It is really just about like, how do you write really well and communicate what you're trying to communicate in a clear, effective way. And so I think this is going to be super useful, and it was just so nice of her to shove this into my hands and be like, "Read this, it's great." And I am really looking forward to giving it a try and seeing what I get out of it, because I feel like it's going to be really useful. I do actually have another book on the way. I left my house with 2 books, and I came back with 5, and I have another one. The 6th book should be arriving today. But I've got The Power of Communication by Fred something. I cannot remember the author's name, but it'll be on screen. But I've got that coming because our team leader wants us all to read this, so that we can have a conversation about that and think about like how we're being intentional with our messaging and our communication. So I think that's going to be really interesting as well. So I feel like I've got some book reports to do. One of my coworkers did in fact joke that as I was getting in the car to leave that dinner party, he pointed at me and he was like, "So book report on Monday?" So I feel like I am having some book reports to do for work. But yeah, I think that's all of the updates. I think that's everything now. This is like a 15-minute clip almost, so I apologize for just rambling at you for 15 minutes. But yeah, I felt like I had a lot of stuff happen while I was gone. I've got to make this check-in a quick one because I have 4 minutes until my friends and I are supposed to start playing 13th Age, which we do every 2 weeks. But I have to check in because I'm less than 100 pages from the end of The Examiner, and I am so invested. I need to know what happens. The last half of this gets really wild, things get really twisty, and I still have like no idea where this is going. There were like one or two things that I think I figured out that I was pretty excited about, that I was right about, but it's like minor pieces of the puzzle, and so I'm really interested to see where this is going. This is just such an interesting like clash of personalities, and the like different motives are starting to be revealed, some of the different people involved and kind of what they're after. Not entirely, but like we're getting some sense of what they're up to, and I'm just so interested to see where it's all gonna go. And we've now, at the point that I'm at, kind of caught up with the present, with the examiner who's actually reading the documents. We've caught up with him, and we're seeing how things unfold from the point where he is like caught up to everything they've done so far, and now like the final project thing is happening. So I'm really interested to see how this is going to play out and what role ultimately the examiner is going to play in the whole thing. And I'm enjoying it so much. It's so good. It's so fun and twisty and wild, and I cannot wait to read the rest of it. However, I now have 3 minutes before my friends and I are going to play 13th Age, and I need to grab another drink and kind of get ready to start playing. So I'm gonna have to walk away from this for now, which is a bummer because I really want to finish it. If our session doesn't go too long tonight, I think I might try and polish off the last little chunk. I'm on page 365 and the book ends on 458, so I'm like just under 100 pages, and it's just so good. Well, it's been a few hours, but I have one more quick update before I go to bed, because 13th Age was really good, but we stopped at a kind of reasonable time, and I have since finished The Examiner by Janice Hallett. I loved this. This was so fun. I think that the ending of this one is really wild. It goes some completely unexpected places, and I really enjoyed it. There's a couple of really good twists near the end that had my jaw on the floor, and I think that this one, like even more so than The Mysterious Case of the Alberton Angels, goes like completely bonkers in the last like 50 to 100 pages, and I really enjoyed it. It was so much fun. It kept my attention. I could not put it down. I'm so excited that I finally finished this one. It's a 5-star for sure. Yeah, there were a couple of things that I think could have been maybe foreshadowed just a little bit earlier, or more like clues put in, but like for me it was not enough to reduce my enjoyment in any way, and I just really enjoyed the way that the whole thing unraveled. Had a great time with it. Definitely a 5-star for me, so yes. Very glad that I've read this, and yeah. I have one more Janice Hallett book I need to read at some point because I still haven't finished The Twyford Code, but like she is definitely amongst my favorite mystery writers at this point, because I just enjoy the way that she structures her mysteries. I think the way that she kind of gives you these like little breadcrumbs of clues is so good. I love the way that she makes these like mixed media mysteries. They're so much fun. So yeah, I finished that. I think next I'm gonna try and finish Tiny Threads tomorrow. I gotta do some chores and stuff tomorrow, but like around that I'm probably gonna go ahead and try and finish Tiny Threads, and we'll see kind of where I'm at after that. But yeah, feeling pretty good about that. And now I am very tired and my shoulder is very sore. It's actually this one. For some reason this is fine, but like turning my head certain directions makes it hurt like right through the back of my shoulder. So I'm not sure what I did to cause that. It'd be great if I did, because then I could maybe avoid doing it again, but I'm just gonna take another ibuprofen before bed and hope that it is better in the morning. Hopefully a shower will help too. But yeah, I'm gonna go get some rest so I can get some stuff done tomorrow, because it's actually like midnight now. Much later than I meant it to be before I went to bed, but oh well, I just couldn't put the book down. I needed to finish it. I do, however, have some little friends here. Elwood's a little hard to see, but he is in fact right here. And then we've got Pumpkin back here. So they've been hanging out with me while I've been reading, but they'll probably migrate to one of the beds this evening. They like to snuggle at night. And or Pumpkin will suddenly get the zoomies and grab a toy and run around. Who knows? But yeah, I'm gonna go get some rest because I can tell I'm tired. I'm rambling a lot, so I'm gonna go get some sleep, and then hopefully I can be productive and get a lot of chores done and read a lot tomorrow. Time for a Pumpkin moment. He's hanging out. He's so cute. His little paws all crossed. Yeah, you're a sweet cat, aren't you, Pumpkin? It's been a little while since I checked in on this vlog. I was doing pretty well for a while there, and then I got kind of bogged down in tiny threads, but I have now finished it. I finished it last night, and I'm sad to say that I didn't like this as much as I thought I was going to. I had been really anticipating this book. I thought the premise just seemed so interesting, and I felt like I was doing okay through the first half of the book, but the last half was just really disappointing to me. And I think this was maybe a case of a book just not working for me, because clearly the author is successful. Lilian Rivera has published several books before this. I think this was like her 8th book. So like, clearly the author has popularity, the author has an audience, but this just did not work for me, even though I really wanted it to, and there were a lot of elements that I thought were like great conceptually, and I thought that the topics it was trying to talk about were really important and interesting. I just feel like the execution was really lacking for me. So in this book we're following Samara, who gets a job at the Antonio Mota fashion house. This is like one of her favorite designers, and he's an older designer. He's kind of fallen out of favor in the fashion world, and he is planning for his comeback. And she gets a job working as his like global brand voice person, basically digital marketing. And she arrives there clearly having come from some sort of like stressful incident with her family that she's trying to escape from. And she thinks of this as like her new lease on life, right? Like she's gonna restart her life here on the West Coast. She's from Jersey and now she's in California, and it's gonna be her like big break and everything, and things are just like not actually going that well for her. So we're following her as she kind of like starts to unravel and spiral, and she's dealing with stress at work, and also there seems to be some other kind of things going on for her. Like it seems like maybe she's a little haunted, not only by the things that have happened, but by like an actual ghost. There's a lot of stuff like that. I think one of the major problems for me with this was just that the book was trying to do too much. It had too many pieces that it was trying to put together, and I don't think it successfully did that, because one of the major themes is the exploitation of women of color, and in particular Latinas in this like community, and because Samara is herself Latina, and she's thinking about like the exploitation of people from her own community. And I thought that was really interesting and a very important conversation, because it was also looking at it across like multiple different industries. We see it in the fashion house. There's also like a slaughterhouse next door, so there's that element. And there's also some sections about, or not sections, but there's this kind of thread for Samara where her grandmother used to live in the same city that Samara now lives in, and worked at the local knitting mill, which has since shut down. And she had written like a whole story about her grandmother and about how her grandmother's work was kind of never recognized, even though she had done this like really incredible like seamstress work. So there's that thread running through it, and I felt like I wanted more of that, but what it ended up doing instead was introducing a bunch of other pieces that didn't quite fit together. And I think the problem was that those pieces should fit together, but they weren't connected well here, because the book also talks about grief. We get a lot of sections of Samara thinking about her grandmother and how her grandmother was like the only person who really supported her. So we have kind of that element running through it. And then there's also this other current in the book of like cycles of abuse and the sexual exploitation of women as well. And that kind of ends up overshadowing the original topic in a way that kind of made me go, what was the point of having it in the fashion house? What was the point of talking about the knitting mill? What was the point of having the slaughterhouse? Because ultimately none of that really mattered to the horror that was happening. And it all just kind of felt disjointed and disconnected. There would be these like moments where connections would be made, and I think frustratingly for me, it wasn't that we were being shown that things were connected, but that like something would be revealed. And I say revealed because somebody would like say something to Samara, and then like pages later she'd be like, ah, this thing is connected to that thing. And usually there was no real evidence that made it clear how she got to that connection. And some of those connections just then drop off and are never raised again. There's no real clear reason for them. Also, the other half of that, as I said, like no real reveals, is that Samara is very passive. She's supposed to be this like very ambitious woman, and like she's doing this to make her career and get out of this like situation she was in before, and she's just really passive. She just doesn't do much. She reacts to things that are happening to her, and she will kind of like react and wildly accuse people of things, and then just kind of calm down and then go, well, I don't need to know any more about that. And she won't ever, like, investigate anything. So there aren't really, like, reveals. There's not moments where Samara is putting the pieces together, because she has no pieces to begin with. She's just like, a thing is happening, and she's like, okay, well, I don't want to think about that. And another thing is happening. Oh, well, okay, well, I don't want to think about that. Which I think makes her feel realistic, but isn't very engaging as a way of reading a book. Like, I just wasn't getting any additional information. We would just, like, watch Samara react to something, and then maybe down the road she would randomly go, oh, this and this are connected. And there were moments where I was like, well, what even, where did you find that information? Because I didn't see it as a reader. And it just was, like, frustrating to me. It was like, it was too much going on. None of it got kind of connected together. Samara was really passive, so we weren't getting to see any of that connection kind of being formed in the background. And there was also, I think the villain reveal was really annoying to me, because there's a character who kind of gets built up as, like, the center of the novel, and then it doesn't even matter. He's not actually important. There's this other thing going on. And it just was like, what was the point of all of this then? So yeah, I think I'm feeling frustrated. I'm feeling a little salty, actually, because this book was originally marketed as, like, for fans of Silvia Moreno Garcia, and I think the only real overlap with Silvia Moreno Garcia's work is that they're both, like, about young Latino women and the kind of struggles that they face, and some level of, like, overlap in commentary and the kind of issues that they're interested in. But I didn't think that the writing was anywhere near the caliber of Silvia Moreno Garcia's writing, so I feel like this was actually really a disservice to this book to be marketed that way, because it's not really in the same vein at all, other than it's a horror book about a young Latino woman. That's it. It was frustrating because I really wanted to like the book, and I just felt like none of it really came together. Oh, also all the characters are really flat. Like, we meet a bunch of people and none of them really matter, and they're all, like, kind of interchangeable. You could just file the serial number off and replace them with someone else and you wouldn't even notice. Like, none of them have any kind of strong personalities. She doesn't develop very much in the way of meaningful relationships. I really think that the best way I could sum it up is that nothing feels like it meaningfully develops or goes anywhere. So yeah, ultimately this was really disappointing to me, which I'm really bummed to say, especially because it was an arc. And I don't like giving arcs bad reviews. Also, I don't feel like this is necessarily a bad review. This is a critical review from me, in the things that didn't work for me. But, like, anytime I do rate a book poorly, for the most part, I can see why other people would like it. And I do think a lot of people will connect with Samara and her, like, not wanting to know more. Samara also struggles with alcoholism, so that's a big element of the book, and, like, for me that didn't work because it felt like, again, it didn't develop in any way. It wasn't really explored. It was just like a thing that her character had as a personality trait, and I wanted that to be kind of, like, delved into a little bit more, exploring kind of why she's an alcoholic and to see her develop meaningfully in some way around that trait. It just never happened. But I think some people will find Samara very relatable. Her ambition, her kind of, like, need to get away from what's happened to her. And yeah, it didn't work for me, but I really hope that this book finds its audience. I think that there are people out here who will love it. It's just, I felt like it was messy and underdeveloped. So yeah, kind of bummed because I was very excited for it. That said, I was going to read another book in this vlog, but because it took me so long to get through Tiny Threads, I think I'm actually going to end this one here and go ahead and give myself enough time to edit it. I know it's going to be a little bit of a long one, so I want to make sure I have plenty of time to get it edited and up for you guys to enjoy. Hopefully you will enjoy this video, fingers crossed. But yeah, I think kind of in summary, I ended up reading 3 books. I finished Thrum by Meg Smitherman, which I gave 4 stars, and The Examiner by Janice Hallett, which I gave 5 stars, and then Tiny Threads by Lilian Rivera, which I'm debating. I'm kind of waffling between 2 and 3 stars on this one. I don't think it's a bad book, it's just underdeveloped, so I haven't quite decided on my rating for this one yet, but once I figure it out, I'm going to write my NetGalley review and get my reviews up on Goodreads and NetGalley and all that good stuff. So yeah, somewhere between a 2 and a 3 on this one for me, which is a bummer and not the greatest point to end a vlog on, but I do want to go ahead and finish this up so that it can be edited and up on time. So with that said, that's pretty much all I have for you today. I really hope you've enjoyed this video, and if you have, I hope you'll consider giving it a like, maybe even subscribing to see what comes next. I'm currently posting every Saturday with the occasional Tuesday video, and I hope to see you in the next one. Bye.